This is a competition exclusively for women, where all participants must type 360 words per minute. Completing the entire competition is equivalent to the physical exertion of running 50 meters. Mistakes, missing words, or omissions will lead to disqualification. In the end, the contestant who types the most words within the allotted time wins. After round of intense competition, only Ruth and the reigning champion remained on the field. Their speed was almost indistinguishable. Facing a fierce opponent, Ruth had to give it her all. Unexpectedly, they ended in a tie, leading to a rare overtime. Within 5 minutes, whoever types more words wins. During the preparation phase, Ruth wanted to give up, but Louis told her, "Actually, I've been hiding your training results. Your usual training performance has long surpassed hers." Spurred on, Ruth suddenly stood up, and when she sat back down, her eyes were filled with determination. The stance of the two women seemed like they were about to fight, and Ruth, as if energized, no longer feared the opponent in front of her. But Louis didn't stay to watch. Instead, he chose to leave. Because he had just lied to Ruth, he wasn't sure if it would work. Nervously, her legs trembled continuously until the sound of victory cheers came from the arena, prompting her to rush back to the room. It turned out that Ruth had won the final victory. She wanted to rush over to hug him, but the crowd pushed her out again. From this moment on, the glamorous woman on stage would no longer belong to her. At this time, Louis felt a mix of emotions, and his thoughts gradually returned to their first meeting. He remembered that day when Louis, a small business owner, planned to hire a female secretary. In 1950s France, becoming a boss's secretary was something many girls envied. On the day of the interview, all the girls in town dressed beautifully to win the boss's favor. As soon as Ruth, from the village, sat down, Louis began to criticize her background just by glancing at her attire and resume. They hadn't even talked much before he wanted her to leave. Seeing the large handwriting on the table, Ruth decided to showcase her true skills. The sound of the keyboard immediately caught Louis's attention. Her unique rapid two-finger typing, the hairpin falling from her hair, and the exposed shoulder strap deeply attracted Louis. In less than 30 seconds, she had typed out the document on the table exactly as it was. Even the spaces and punctuation were perfectly matched, leaving Louis utterly stunned. In the end, he successfully landed the job. The whole family was happy for Louis, but his father was the exception. Louis even had to arrange a marriage for him, because he believed that marrying an honest person in the village was the best future for Louis. Louis pushed the coffin off the table, expressing strong protest to his father. As the saying goes, daughters are not meant to stay, and the father could only shake his head helplessly. He planned to leave the village and make a life for himself outside. However, before leaving, he thoughtfully covered his sleeping father in front of the TV with a blanket. And so, Lucy officially started her job at Michoud. However, with no experience, she often messed up the tasks she was supposed to do. Files on top of the cabinet would accidentally scatter everywhere. She couldn't find the information she recorded about clients, and she had to write notes directly on the boss's hand. When destroying useless files, she accidentally included useful ones, and when she rushed to fix it, she ended up breaking the shredder. All these unreliable actions made Louis's friends laugh out loud. Only you could handle such a capable secretary. Louis knew very well that he didn't keep Lucy for the work. When the 7-day trial period ended, Louis planned to confess his true intentions to her. He told Lucy, "You're not suited to be a secretary. If you want to stay on permanently, you need to do something that makes us both happy." Before Louis could finish, Lucy angrily stormed out of the office. She thought the boss wanted to take advantage of her, not knowing that Louis wanted her to enter a typing competition. He said that as long as Lucy could win the competition, she could continue working there. So, Lucy signed up for the competition. Her friends thought it was something simple she could handle. But the audience told her that in the competition, even a small mistake would cost 10 words, and the world record was an astonishing 512 words per minute. For ordinary people, this was an impossible feat. As a first-time competitor, Lucy didn't know what to prepare. Seeing other contestants using tools to fix their typewriters, she was completely baffled. It wasn't until the competition was about to start that she realized she hadn't set it up yet. With the sound of a whistle, the competition officially began. All the participants were focused, their fingers flying, skillfully and swiftly typing away. Inexperienced Lucy, however, was looking around aimlessly. Huan Ji also seemed clumsy. Although his two-finger typing was already masterful, compared to professional players, he was still a bit lacking. In the end, he lost his qualification for the competition due to 2 direct insertions. On the way back, Louis was a bit angry and kept criticizing Lucy. Unable to bear it any longer, Lucy asked him to pull over. Seeing Louis didn't respond, he yanked off the window handle, forcing Louis to stop. Having lost the match and been criticized, he was already upset. To make matters worse, when he returned to the apartment, the manager mocked him. Because Louis always smoked, she always smelled of tobacco, leading the manager to think she was a girl who didn't respect herself. The series of setbacks left her disheartened, and she couldn't help but burst into tears. She had hoped to prove her abilities to her father, but instead, she ended up in such a situation. Just as she was about to leave, Louis suddenly came over. First, he apologized for the money spent on the car, then he hoped she would continue to participate in the upcoming competitions, promising that as long as she was willing to train, she could always be his secretary. In the end, Lucy agreed. To make training more convenient after work, Louis directly took Lucy to his home. It was Louis's father's villa, but usually, only Louis lived there. The dining table in the living room was their training spot. To help him learn to type with all 10 fingers, Louis even bought a children's typewriter. Each finger had a corresponding color and area. Louis's constant nagging made Lucy very impatient, telling him to go away, that he would read the instructions himself. However, the first time he tried typing with all 10 fingers, it seemed like his fingers weren't listening to him. Once he was sure Louis was far away, he quickly practiced his 2-finger typing again. Unexpectedly, Louis caught him red-handed. Louis angrily told him that if he didn't practice properly, he could go back home anytime. Lucy had no choice but to agree. To train his concentration, Louis would constantly tell stories while he typed. To help her get more familiar with the keyboard, he even painted her fingernails with the corresponding colors. To give her something to type, Louis brought her over a dozen thick books. Whether at home or at the company, Lucy was constantly practicing. This made Louis very satisfied. To avoid suspicion, Louis had Lucy ride a bike to and from work, while she leisurely drove behind. But that day, Lucy accidentally fell by the roadside. She fell flat on her back, and Louis hurried over to check her hand, not caring if Rose had hurt herself elsewhere. Just then, a sudden downpour started, and Rose's wet clothes revealed her figure. Being a true gentleman, Louis simply turned away and told her to get in the car quickly. Rose, on the other hand, was a bit disappointed. That day, when Louis was about to do laundry, he found Rose's underwear in the washing machine. He then quietly went to her room to find a suitable place to put it. Just as he was searching for where to place it, Rose came in and saw Louis holding her underwear. He deliberately struck a pose and said, "If you're looking for the matching panties, they're on me." His words left Louis extremely embarrassed, and he hurriedly explained that he found it in the washing machine. As Louis was about to leave, he noticed a photo on the wall. Rose asked him which person in the photo he liked. Louis pointed to one near the mouth, but Rose informed him, "That's my mom." That day, while Louis was cooking, he suddenly heard Rose shouting. Frightened, he rushed over to find that Rose was just complaining about being sore and tired. Louis first corrected her sitting posture, then thoughtfully massaged her shoulders, and finally gave her fingers a massage. He then realized her fingers weren't flexible enough. To make Rose's fingers more supple, Louis sought out his friend's wife, Mary, hoping she could teach Rose piano. Unexpectedly, she refused, citing her busy household chores. To force her to agree to his request, Louis picked up a knife and started performing the knife game. As his speed gradually increased, the children nearby were stunned. As expected, Louis ended up stabbing his hand with the knife. The reason he helped Rose so much was because, many years ago, he was an athlete. He once dreamed of winning a championship, but it never came true. Not long after, when war broke out, he joined the army. Unfortunately, his unit was ambushed by the enemy, and all his comrades were killed, leaving him as the sole survivor. So, he spent his life serving others. Perhaps only this way could heal the wounds in his heart. Finally, Mary agreed to teach Rose piano. To increase Rose's endurance, Louis began taking her for outdoor running training. Gradually, her fingers became more flexible, and her endurance improved. After some calculations, her typing speed had significantly increased. Even the finger-switching action became very proficient. Not long after, he once again stepped onto the competition stage. This time, he was unstoppable and took first place. From then on, he became unstoppable. He could easily win the championship in every competition. Even if the typewriter's color was wiped off or the nail polish on his fingers was removed, he could still type quickly and accurately. Even when surrounded by strong winds, he remained completely unaffected. Their training spanned from the hot summer to the dark autumn and into the snow-covered winter. Day after day, his performance improved from being the best in the town to the best in the county, and finally, the best in the city. His speed reached 491 words per minute. When the results were announced, everyone was focused on him. Excitedly, Louis picked up Ruth and spun her around, but when he realized everyone was watching, he deliberately kept his distance from her. This girl, who came from a humble background, won over everyone present and attracted many boys who came to pursue her, making Louis a bit jealous. Although Ruth shone brightly in everyone's eyes, when her father saw her achievements, he sarcastically remarked that fame couldn't put food on the table. That day, Ruth went to the apartment where she used to live, hoping to hear a birthday greeting from her father, but he never called. The manager still treated Ruth the same as before, with indifference. Feeling very disappointed, she returned to Louis's house, only to find that Louis had thoughtfully prepared a birthday cake for her. Not only that, Louis also prepared a surprise for her, but when she eagerly opened it, it was just a wooden cover. Little did she know, Louis had spent an entire afternoon making it for her to train her touch typing skills. With this, Ruth's typing speed would become even faster. But Ruth didn't understand Louis's good intentions. She thought everything Louis did was for himself and never considered her perspective. After angrily lashing out at Louis, she slammed the door and left. Frustrated, Louis confided in a friend. As a mentor, he knew that Ruth didn't realize her own talent, and he couldn't bear to see her potential go to waste. Meanwhile, unable to sleep, Ruth sat in front of the typewriter and realized she might have misunderstood Louis. She typed an apology, hoping to gain his forgiveness. Christmas is coming soon. Louis decided to pause the training to let everyone calm down. Besides, his family is coming over. He told Lucy to go home and spend some quality time with her family. So, Lucy returned to the countryside, but her father went to someone else's house for Christmas. Feeling lost, Lucy went to her mother's grave, pouring out her heart's troubles. Even though she became the girl of every girl's dreams, she still couldn't win Louis's love or her father's understanding. That night, with nowhere to go, Lucy hitched a ride to Mary's house. After understanding the situation, Mary drove Lucy to Louis's house and announced to everyone that she was Louis's fiancée. After saying that, she left gracefully, leaving behind a stunned Louis and a delighted family. Inside the chaotic house, Louis had no choice but to sit with her. Lucy wanted to hold hands, but Louis kept pulling away. Nervous, Lucy kept drinking. At the dinner table, her father criticized Louis again, saying he ran the insurance company into the ground and was a complete fool. Hearing this, the alcohol-fueled Lucy loudly retorted, "If you didn't always put him down, he would show you what he can do." Her words left everyone present in shock. One would think this would anger her father, but instead, he burst into laughter, appreciating Louis's candor and sincerity. This time, Louis took Lucy's hand. After dinner, he even invited her to dance. The family enjoyed a rare and wonderful time together. However, that night, after settling Lucy in, Louis quietly left the room to sleep on the sofa. Soon, the national championship arrived. Lucy specially prepared a bright red dress. Seeing such a beautiful woman, Louis couldn't help but be moved. But she tried hard to control herself, not wanting to affect Louis's performance before the competition. However, Lucy didn't see it that way. In the end, with Louis's initiative, she gave in. They enjoyed a wonderful night together. The next day, before the championship started, last year's champion was being interviewed by the media. Facing the camera, he boasted that no one in the country was his match because he had set a record of 50 words per minute. Seeing how strong he was, Lucy felt a bit nervous. Louis firmly told him to show who was really number one here. With the referee's signal, the competition officially began. The defending champion was as invincible as ever. He changed his paper, and only then did the others follow suit. As the competition progressed, he maintained a strong lead. By the end of the first round, some contestants had given up due to mistakes. Some contestants even fainted on the spot. However, the defending champion was leisurely trimming his nails. In the end, only Lucy and he made it to the finals. Facing this unknown challenger, the defending champion gave him a friendly greeting. This directly dampened Louis's morale, causing a minor issue during the job change segment. In the end, the two miraculously tied, forcing an overtime round. Seeing Lucy had lost his fighting spirit, Louis stepped in with a small trick, falsely claiming that his usual training results had long surpassed the champion's. Unexpectedly, this tactic worked. In the end, Lucy successfully won the competition. Seeing Lucy on stage being embraced by the sponsor's son, before Louis could get angry, the sponsor approached him and said, "You've played all your cards. Next, if you want Lucy to go further, now is the time for you to step back." Although Louis was reluctant, for Lucy's future, he silently decided to leave. After the award ceremony, Lucy ran to him and expressed her love. But Louis rejected her confession. Then, coldly leaving her behind, he drove away. The next day, the old typewriter in his father's shop, which no one cared about, was suddenly bought at a high price. Only then did he realize his daughter had become famous. Lucy became an overnight sensation, selected as a national typing candidate with her top-notch performance. Even her typing method with her nails was turned into a poster and made the front page. The Pink typing program offered her a high-paying endorsement deal. Major media outlets scrambled to interview her about her success story. Lucy was surrounded by fans and caught the attention of wealthy heirs. She was also the president of Pink Typewriters. Their relationship quickly grew closer, and the value of the Pink brand skyrocketed. Lucy intensified her typing training, preparing to represent France in international competitions. To before, this time it was much harder. Every contestant was a national champion, and the strongest was Mary from the United States. She holds the world record for an average of 512 characters per minute and is a 3-time consecutive world champion in international typing competitions. Louis is under immense pressure. To further increase his speed, a coach chosen by Pink assists in his training. But right from the start, things don't go well. Not used to the new typewriter, Louis frequently hits the wrong keys, and all he gets is a stern, "Try again." Compared to before, Louis's thoughtful companionship seems to have changed. Now, it feels like Pink's president is only with him to promote their typewriter and boost the company's value. Whoever is the champion of France, he will be with them. This leaves Louis feeling a bit down. Although he won the championship and lives a glamorous life, it seems this isn't what he truly wants. Just as he's feeling lost, he unexpectedly receives a package from his father. It was the typewriter he used for the first time. It turns out his father didn't sell it but kept it as a belated birthday gift. At that moment, Louis realized he finally gained his father's approval. This gave him a bit of courage, so he began to prepare wholeheartedly for the World Championship. 2 months later, the Typing Speed World Championship officially begins. Meanwhile, Louis wants to completely erase Luce from his mind. So he starts looking for a new secretary, trying to return to his old life. Despite Luce calling him countless times, he never answers, because he doesn't want his momentary weakness to ruin Luce's bright future. However, no matter what, he can't forget Luce and can only silently watch and pray for her. One day, he notices a photo of his younger self on Luce's wall. At that moment, he realizes he might have made a mistake. Later, he finds his childhood friend Mary and asks why she chose his friend over him back then. It turns out Mary also liked him a lot, but she never heard him confess, so she eventually accepted his friend's proposal. At that moment, Louis finally realizes that love isn't something you wait for. It's something you actively pursue. He then rushes to the competition site in America without delay. Meanwhile, as the world-class typing competition officially begins, every contestant on site is intensely focused on their scripts, with 10 fingers rapidly striking the keyboard. The young Korean prodigy types with a blank expression. The British contestant gradually slows down. The Italian contestant, after making a mistake, flips the machine in frustration. Looking again, the world record holder, American contestant Mary, remains full of confidence. For the first time representing France, Ruth kept up the pace without any slack. As the whistle blew, the first round of eliminations ended, and the judges quickly tallied everyone's scores. Only competitors from the United States, South Korea, Germany, and France's Ruth remained. Soon, the semifinals began. The young prodigy couldn't keep up the speed, and the German competitor gradually fell behind, leaving only Ruth and Mary. During the break, Mary sat calmly in her seat, with 3 attendants massaging her, exuding confidence as she glanced at Ruth, her powerful aura instantly overwhelming. Facing such a formidable opponent, Ruth quickly buckled under the pressure. She wanted to go to the restroom but was pulled back by her coach. Because doing so would completely lose her momentum, giving her opponent an even greater advantage. Soon, the half-hour break was over, and the best of 3 finals officially began. In the first round, both competitors went all out, typing at full speed. In the end, Ruth led by 1 character with 510 characters typed. But there were no cheers from the audience, only boos. This was the home ground for the United States, and almost all the spectators were cheering for the American competitor. This affected Ruth, who was fighting alone. The American competitor, feeling triumphant, taunted her before the second round, saying, "Aren't French women only good for laundry and cooking?" This comment stunned Ruth for a moment, and in that moment, she lost the second round. In this round, the American competitor tied the world record, while Ruth typed 506 characters per minute, just 6 characters short. Afterward, Ruth, ignoring her coach's objections, broke down and went backstage. Just when everyone thought she was going to quit, she brought out an old typewriter. It turned out the sponsor's typewriter was too small, affecting her performance. However, her coach strongly opposed her using such outdated equipment. Just as she was about to explain, a familiar voice suddenly rang out. Louis arrived at Ruth's side at the critical moment. In fact, he had been holding on to his last card until now. He passionately expressed his deep love for Ruth. "All along, I thought you needed my help, but in the end, I realized I can't live without you." This heartfelt confession deeply moved Ruth. She asked Louis for advice on her third round. Indeed, Louis's love was the last card. However, the return to the arena for Lucy was met with threats from sponsors. If he didn't switch back to his own machine, they would demand all their investments back. But Lucy was not afraid at all. "I've already generated double the value for you." At this moment, Louis and his friends came to the stage to encourage Lucy. At this moment, he was fearless. Meanwhile, his father, who was thousands of miles away, and all the fans in France were waiting by the radio, confident in Lucy's victory. Just as the competition was heating up, the typewriter suddenly jammed. Lucy quickly unjammed it and got back into the groove. This made the previously skeptical audience start to applaud his calmness. At this moment, Lucy smiled. Winning or losing seemed no longer important because he had already gained everything he wanted. His father's approval, Louis's love, the audience's recognition, and most importantly, his own fearless determination. Finally, the competition ended. On stage, Lucy was very calm, but it was Louis who was nervous, as if she had gone through an ordeal. After composing herself, she walked onto the stage. This time, in front of everyone, she kissed Lucy. Then, after the judges confirmed, the competition results were announced. Everyone held their breath, waiting for this moment's outcome. Finally, the host loudly announced that Lucy broke the world record with 51 words per minute. At this moment, all friends and family cheered for Lucy. The applause from the audience was endless. The world witnessed Lucy's achievement and also her love with Louis at this moment. The two embraced their glory as champions and as lovers. The once clumsy country girl became a role model in everyone's heart. Populaire is a comedy film directed by Rose Pamphyle, starring Romain Duris and Deborah Francois, released in 2012. It's not just a simple Cinderella story, but an anthem for all souls unwilling to be defined. When Louis's trembling fingertips unleashed a thunderous force on the keyboard, we saw not just a typing speed contest, but a declaration of a soul breaking free from worldly shackles. This country girl, arranged by her father for blind dates, used 2 fingers to knock on the door of a new world. The director used exaggerated visual symbols, with colorful finger powder and red typing. They even turned typing competitions into a beauty pageant for keyboards, transforming the dull typing practice into a tension-filled performance art. Just like in reality, actress Deborah practiced typing for 3 months for her role. The film uses extreme detail to show us that true talent is the miracle of turning grit into pearls through perseverance, and the character of Louis as the tough coach is brilliantly conceived. His harsh training shatters Louise's naive fantasies to prepare her for the champion's throne. Choosing such a brutal training method seems heartless but actually embodies the ultimate respect for women's value. This push and pull emotional tension, the rise and fall of typewriter keys, hides the most touching gender struggle of that era within its Morse code-like rhythm. The film is far sharper than it appears. When Louise, in high heels, types an astonishing 491 words per minute on stage, in the background, those ladies with pearl necklaces are also trapped in their own delicate cages. The director uses the female characters to break through the predetermined scripts of the past, allowing them to reconstruct themselves. In this era where AI is about to replace keyboards, looking back at this film feels even more prophetic. When Louise finally tears up the marriage contract and chooses to move forward alone, the typewriter becomes not just a tool for making a living, but a spiritual totem for women breaking free from identity labels. It reminds us that true success is not about defeating others, but like Louise, hearing the rhythm of your own heartbeat amidst the roar of the times. Just like at the end of the film, that timeless old typewriter is no longer just a machine, but the courage for every unyielding person to press the shutter on their life. That's all for today's movie sharing. Feel free to like, comment, and share. Looking forward to our next encounter.
Yeah.